Good evening and welcome to my YouTube channel. Tonight I would like to talk to you about Werewolf by Night. I'm kidding, I'm not gonna do the voice the whole time. Oh, perhaps I will. Hi, I'm John Bonjour. I love art and film and the art of film. It's kind of weird jumping into an MCU review because I feel like there's a lot that came before it and a lot that's going to come after it that is kind of important to talk about, but I also don't totally want to because this thing deserves to be looked at as its own thing. Don't get me wrong, all of the MCU movies to some degree I've really enjoyed, and the shows. I enjoy this franchise. I'm a huge fan. This thing deserves to be looked at as its own piece of art. Obviously, it's got some connections, and we'll definitely get into that. But I really want to discuss, this is just a well-made thing. I'm not even going to bury the lead on this one. I love this movie. Or show. Or, meaning, special presentation. I love this special presentation. I feel like it's got the right level of horror and creepy and fun monster movie from, the classic Universal era. It channels all of those, but it feels super unique, and it definitely never overstays its welcome. That's really where I feel like Werewolf by Night thrives, is that it's a short, condensed, separated story, just a werewolf, just a creature feature. I think Gael Garcia Bernal is spectacular as Werewolf by Night. His character of Jack Russell is such a personal, interesting portrayal. I'm really excited to see wherever he goes from now. Not to mention, we get to see Man-Thing, which... we've gotten a Man-Thing movie, and it exists. It's a movie. It's a movie that exists. This is the first time we've seen Man-Thing in all of his glory. I love that they're introducing these characters and just going, yeah, you're gonna figure it out. We trust you to kind of get it. I hope they keep making these. I hope they make so many of these movies. That was my first thought when the credits hit, is I just want to see more of Werewolf and Man-Thing together, just walking around, doing their own thing. This is also shot and edited and just created extraordinarily well. For a streaming release, quite honestly, I kind of set my expectations low when they announced it. You got Michael Giacchino directing, who I love his musical work, but I've never seen him direct anything, so I was kind of, I could go either way. You've got a lot of people that aren't huge name stars in the movie. You've got this weird, Universal classic monster pastiche that they're putting on there. The trailer to me was exciting, but it also looked a little spoofy, and I didn't really want this to be a spoof. And so it was everything that I saw and everything that I heard made me go, yeah, I guess this will be fun. I'm excited to see it, but I just don't know if it'll be awesome or if it'll just be kind of one of those throwaway things that, hey, we put it on a streaming service because we didn't know what else to do with it. Turns out it absolutely rules. Literally, from the Marvel logo, I knew I was going to love this thing. They do this weird slashing through it, and they take it and create something, make it feel, they instantly tell you, hey, this isn't going to be the Marvel that you know. This movie essentially starts with a monologue saying, hey, you remember the Avengers? Your heroes from childhood, the people you grew up with, loving and appreciating? They're not the only beings in this world. And that's the thing that excites me about Werewolf by Night. As much as it absolutely does stand on its own as this horror movie, it's not terrifying, but it is. It's creepy, it's gory, it's gross, especially for Marvel standards. It really opens the doors in the Marvel universe to a side that we've never seen. I was having a conversation days before this came out about Blade and how I just didn't feel like he really was going to be able to fit into the Marvel universe. Then I pop on Werewolf by Night, and 55 minutes later, I'm 100% convinced. Absolutely they can put Blade in this. Why not? This is really the kind of project I want to see more of from Marvel Studios. With Doctor Strange, with Moon Knight, Marvel's really branching into something that I think they've never really touched on before. That's pretty exciting to me. I love everything Marvel's put out, except for What If, because it's terrible and I don't count it as canon. But everything else I've really enjoyed, and they're not getting stale for me. Every time a Marvel movie comes out, I get my family together, get all my friends, we go see this thing, we go on this ride, it's a fun adventure, and then I get to pick up the Blu-ray and put it in my collection. How much more could you ask for? I feel like in a world where Marvel movies come out and pretty consistently subvert people's expectations and not always in the way that everybody really loves. I'm really excited that we have these characters and these people being introduced into this world that I want to see again. This makes me excited for Blade. It makes me excited for Secret Wars. How are these worlds gonna collide, you know? I mean, obviously in a multiversal sense, but like, how is the dark side of the universe gonna connect with the light side of the universe? Like, what happens when Werewolf by Night and Ant-Man meet? What does that look like? Because those, I feel like, are completely separate. That's what makes the first Avengers work so incredibly well, is you've got Thor, this Shakespearean god character, paired up with Hawkeye, like a government agent, and Captain America, this World War II hero, and Iron Man. These are characters that don't come from the same background, like don't come from the same world. And in a Marvel universe that's getting increasingly similar, just as it expands, everything starts to feel a little more cohesive. You get a little more verisimilitude. Everything just kind of fits together. It's fun to see them actively go against that and actively go, hey, you kind of get where we're going. Let's toss in a curveball and see what happens when we get this crazy, weird werewolf story. I'm not as critical of Marvel movies, because they make me happy and I'm nostalgic for them and I enjoy them. I get that they're not incredible films. I understand that. But they don't have to be The Pianist to be something important and something fun. Sorry, I got off track there. My two criticisms for this movie are, one, I think it could be longer. It doesn't have to be, but you definitely do a couple of times feel the pacing kind of rushing, kind of having to get to the next thing because you know it's only 50 minutes, and about 30 minutes in, you're like, we have not seen a werewolf. We just haven't seen a werewolf in Werewolf by Night. But it could have used another 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe make it a feature-length runtime. That adds value to me, and I feel like you can delve into the characters of Jack Russell and Elsa Bloodstone. I wouldn't mind knowing more about them. I'm really intrigued by their characters, and I am excited to learn more about them as we go on, but I wouldn't have minded a little extra detail, a little extra motivation. I don't know if Bloodstone's gonna be a good character. I don't know if she'll be a positive or negative force in this world. I would like to have some sense of that. I don't mind living in this, but you know, if you're making a 50-minute movie and it could be an hour and 20, why wouldn't you? My other complaint, and it's not really a complaint as much as it is I just wasn't expecting it, the design of the werewolf. Jack's character, when he turns into this werewolf, it took me a minute to get on board with because I was expecting something a lot closer to the weird dog creatures we got in Moon Knight. You know, the thing that he fights at the beginning of the show? That was more along the lines of what I was expecting, some big CGI creature. When he was just essentially the Wolfman, it kind of threw me off. I wasn't totally prepared for it. No, I mean, that's more what he looks like in the comics, so props to them for comic accuracy. I just kind of didn't think they'd go for that. That being said, after a couple of minutes of seeing him, and especially when you see him running around and jumping and really going crazy, I think he's way more horrifying when he's still got his humanity. I think he's a much more interesting and exciting and dynamic character when it's still a human under there. Like, you don't get lost in the CGI. It's just Jack with crazy primal rage. Quite honestly, I'm just pretty stoked about where they're going. I love this idea of special presentations, right? Where you aren't confined necessarily to the length of a movie or a 6-episode show. I like the idea of telling stories in the way that they should be told. And really, this doesn't need to be anything. Obviously, I'd like for it to be more. I'd like a series of Werewolf by Night, but that's because I'm greedy. If this is the only Werewolf by Night thing we get, it was still awesome. And it was still a full story. I didn't feel like I was leaving it going, okay, I mean, I guess you could do that, but like, where are we going from there? It doesn't feel like just a setup for other movies. It's its own story, and it's a very interesting story. I hope Marvel looks at the success of Werewolf by Night and sees that for what it is, as the fans telling them, please, make things that are more creative, make things that are different, make things that don't totally fit in whatever ongoing story you're trying to tell in this phase or this saga. Because if you're a studio with all the money in the world and you can make as many creative and weird projects as you want to, and you know for a fact that the fans will come and see them, even if they don't like them, they'll probably see it a couple of times. If you know you can do that, why wouldn't you make the most creative, strange thing you could do? I hope we get more things like this. I hope we get more things with this much creative input and brilliant storytelling. I hope that we get more things that I can just unabashedly, unashamedly love. And that's where I stand on Werewolf by Night. I think this thing's absolutely incredible. And if you haven't seen it because you were a little tired of the Marvel thing, or if you haven't seen it because you were a little worried they were going to ruin the Marvel thing, see it. Hell, if you haven't seen anything Marvel, see this. Because it's something totally different, and I think it deserves to be rewarded for being something pretty spectacular. Thank you for checking out this video and my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my dumb reviews on movies, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, comment down below which you'd like me to review next. Or don't. I'm not your dad. I would like to talk to you about Werewolf by Night. You like the werewolves? This is to future John. Please do not get embarrassed and cut out the vampire portions of this video.